Good morning, good people. How you doing today? This is Luis Negron, President, Executive Director of 100 Black Men of Atlanta. Today we have a special guest with us, Brother Mcrae. He's the President of Bank of America Atlanta. Welcome.
Thanks,
It's good
Louise.
to
Good to
see
see
you.
you.
Thank you. Today we have a topic we're discussing financial literacy. Today is the Financial Awareness Day. Just wanted to also just us to talk about the importance of financial literacy for our youth as well as ourselves, and also the partnership we have with Bank of America. Al, tell us a little about how National Financial Awareness Day came about and how Bank of America is taking place with this.
Yeah, thanks, Louise. This time of year, there's a lot going on as pertains to we have a lot of young adults going back to school, parents helping prepare their young adults to go back to school, and that sometimes means them looking for new jobs to supplement their educational experience, or even the folks that have graduated this past summer and now are starting those new roles. And so, Financial Awareness Day is an opportunity to kind of reset and start thinking about the future for managing finances for young people that this might be their first time having those responsibilities. Additionally, you think about the financial landscape that we're dealing with today, whether it's increases in cost of housing, the cost of goods increasing. All of those challenges make it imperative that individuals, particularly young adults, take a look at their finances and really examine it so they can understand how to be successful.
Wonderful. I know some of the material I was reading over it said that in a new survey, Bank of America found that 46% of current students have are probably about financial independence after graduation, meaning they're thinking ahead. So I would say generationally, that is definitely ahead of my generation. I would say one of the things that I've learned through my experiences of financial learning was that my dad and my parents didn't really talk about wealth or talk about budgeting or any of that nature. So for us, it was really self learning. So it was really something new. So I know one of the things we like to talk about at the 100 is breaking generational curses. And one of those is breaking the generational curse of financial literacy and not knowing. So tell me some of the ways that Bank of America is helping with this.
Yeah, so and not too much different from your story, Luis. And I talk to a lot of my contemporaries and my friends, and we all talk about that, right? It's that growing up, we necessarily didn't always sit at the table with our parents to talk about their finances, or even from a strategy perspective on how they were thinking about their finances. So it's something that I think we all had to learn kind of on the fly. But to your point, what can we do to kind of prepare? I think first, let's start with the parents out there. To your point about kind of breaking generational habits and the way things that used to be done, it's important that we do talk to our children about finances and disclose them very early on to the concepts of budgeting and how we manage money on a day-to-day basis, and then even thinking longer term, and what that might mean from a wealth accumulation and transfer perspective. So I think some very tactical things we can first start to think about. And one is around building a budget. And a budget is effectively, just getting a piece of paper. It doesn't even have to be a computer program. Just writing down at the top how much are you earning and how much are you bringing home every week or every month, and then start to track out, okay, how much are you spending? The overall goal, as we know, is for you to have more money left over, so not spending more than you earn. And then that's kind of the basics. And then step two on that would be really thinking about what's my cadence of tracking that every month. So we might do this at the beginning of the year or beginning of the school year, but then what's your cadence to making sure you're on track or making adjustments as you need throughout that year? And that's really a part where I think we can get a little wayward. It might have a great budget, but things come up. You have emergencies. You have summer travel plans, and you're doing things, spending more money during the summer while traveling, whatever it may be. Holidays will be right around the corner. But it's all about understanding the difference between what your wants and your needs and prioritizing that spending. And then I say developing really solid saving habits as a third point. If the more those things become habits, the less it becomes a process where you feel it, right? So if you're saving $25 a week or $100 a month, and you're just consistent about that, you can build up a good reserve, and those reserves will be there to help for some of those emergency situations or some of those times where there will be an increase in spending throughout the year. And then the fourth point I would make is just around being mindful of debt and building solid credit. As most people know, your credit report is your financial scorecard or your financial report card. And so when you go to a bank and you need a loan for a house, a car, whatever it may be, the first thing that an institution is going to do is look at that financial report card to see what is your history of paying back debt and how much debt do you currently have. And that kind of helps them rate the risk of lending money. That's kind of a basic explanation. So just thinking about that, and once again, it's never too early for us to start. It's never too early for parents to start having that conversations with their children, so that when they do go and they're in college and getting ready for that first job, they'll have some of those things already instilled in them.
No, those are some great points. I can speak to personal experience. I know when I went to college, and I'll date myself here in the '90s. I just remember credit card companies were allowed on campus, and they were set up in the lunchrooms or throughout campus, and they would say sign up, and they would have prizes and stuff. And and I got myself in some trouble by signing up for several credit cards and not managing that correctly. So definitely my credit score took a major hit after graduation, and I had to clean that up. So I do understand that, and I know one of the things I've seen, the young people we work with over at Best Academy and Coretta Scott King and our other schools, a lot of them are actually don't want a credit card. They've talked about that. So I find that to be, this generation being a different generation of how they look at credit, how they look at money, and I think what they have done, they've been able to look at whatever's happened, with their parents or their grandparents or what they've gone through. And also just there's a different messaging today, I would say in 2023 about credit than it was in the 90s or early 2000s. So I do agree with that. And like you said, your credit report is your scorecard, and that follows you forever. I know that I've had to deal with my credit score and help bring it up and pay things down, but at the same time, you know, jobs now require for it. So one of the things that we talk about with students is that not only when you apply for a job, they also will look at your credit score. Can you kind of talk about how that goes hand in hand? I know you're in the financial world, so I definitely know your credit score was probably looked upon, and I was looked upon when I was hired here, but definitely how that could affect your employment opportunities.
Yeah, there's a number of impacts your credit score might have just outside of just going for a loan. Things like car insurance. There's a number of products, a number of places that you would go where that might be subject to review. So just like anything else that we tell young people, let's say be mindful. I mean, even in the age of social media now, be mindful of your profile. Be mindful of things that you put out there. It's the same thing with your credit score. Be mindful about the utilization of it and making sure you protect it. And I think that's an important point. And to your point about the evolution of the conversation and credit, it's encouraging to hear that there's caution around making sure that credit is utilized the appropriate way and not the inappropriate ways. Your story and mine once again are similar in that I got the t-shirts and the frisbees. I don't know where those things are, but I paid for that debt. A long much longer time than those t-shirts and frisbees lasted. And then starting to understand when you're using debt to consume, kind of the pitfalls that can happen, right? Because effectively, as a college student, I didn't have much in terms of income, and so credit was there to kind of fill the gap from a discretionary perspective. And though and once again, all these things add up to your score, so you have to kind of recover from that and learn those lessons. I think we're in a better situation now where we do have more education out there. I think there's more awareness around finances, and parents are starting to talk to their young adults and their children more about how to responsibly use credit.
So, Al, with you working at Bank of America and being there, and I know your career has been in banking. For our listeners out today, what would we say are probably about the top three strategies that they could follow for their financial well being? Is there some tips that you could share with them? These and this is not just for the young people, even for the adults or people our age who may find that they're in a tight spot. But what are some things that they could do to help their financial well being?
I think the first thing is, and we kind of hit on it in the beginning, is around really understanding what it is that you need versus what you want. I think there's sometimes confusion that people place their wants in the bucket of needs. just only a few things that we really need to live on a day-to-day basis. So if you can start the budgeting process from saying, this is how much money I'm bringing in. Let me first get my needs taken care of. And then from there, if there's excess, then the wants can start to happen. But I'll even put in there, before we even get to the want part of it, let's allocate a part for savings. So I can't stress it enough how important it is to get into the habit. And you've heard terms such as pay yourself first. Well, I'm not gonna say pay yourself first, because you probably want to pay your mortgage, you probably want to get food and all that before you give yourself money. But I think it is important for you to allocate a portion of your budget to a pool or to a pot that is designated for savings or emergency. So I think number one is just get into that habit. People want to, a lot of times in financial services, I've had people interested in investing. Well, before we even get to that part, let's just, do you have a healthy habit around saving and allocating money to the side for those emergencies and those situations? In that very same survey that you referenced, Louise, one of three individuals were doing that, right? We're looking to set aside money for savings, and that's an encouraging sign. The other thing I would say is, always try to think about, when we progress through our careers. I know certainly it was this way for me. We're fortunate enough to get raises and increases in salary and bonuses. Well, all of that increase should not be allocated towards spending. We should definitely look at our current lifestyle, and as our income increases, still trying to maintain a healthy amount of that going towards savings and investing, so that you can build to the long term. And then I think my third point is just that around long term. It's okay to, you treat yourself, treat your family, to certain pleasures. But you also have to think about retirement and one day not earning the money from your job or your business, and making sure that you put yourself in a position long term to be successful. Because that's the other challenge that we see, right? Is that as individuals age, and once they reach retirement age, they have to rely on, obviously Social Security is there, but a lot of times that doesn't cover everything that needs to be covered when it comes to food and healthcare and all the other aspects of retirement. So, having that long term view, being mindful of that, and planning for that, I think is important.
No, thank you for sharing those tips. And I would say that for everyone that's listening here today, just want to just be very thankful to Bank of America and to Al and his team. We have a partnership, and we received a generous grant from them to be able to invest in the schools we work with in the 30318 area code. So that's Best Academy. And just want to talk about a little bit about the investment that we're planning to do and work with the students and the families there. For us, part of our mission and our goal is financial uplift and social economic uplift for our families and children. And it's very important that we, are able to work with them so that again they could get ahead of anything that may come to them that could deter them in getting it, whether it's their credit or whatever. But this money, again, thank you for you and Bank of America for this opportunity for us to be able again to invest with the students there on the west side of Atlanta. Do you mind just speaking a little bit to that about what we're going to be doing at best?
Yeah, I'd love to. And once again, we're happy to be a partner with 100 Black Men of Atlanta, as well as other organizations in the city, where we see the biggest need when it comes to the discussion around economic mobility. And you all are doing great work. You're starting at the grassroots when you talk about our young people. 2023, as Mayor Dickens has proclaimed, is the year of the youth, and you all are squarely in that mission. And so for us, the partnership was one that made all the sense, just because of the great work that you do, and then our leanings as an organization to say, if we're going to have a society that continues to close this gap around economic mobility and achievement, we have to partner strongly with organizations such as the 100 Black Men of Atlanta. And so, one of the things that you and I have talked about directly is how can we be even a greater influence and force around this concept of teaching financial literacy in our schools. And so, of course, with the 100 and your affiliated schools and other school systems around Metro Atlanta, we've gone out and offered a program which is based in financial literacy, but it's a game. And the game is designed to put students in a real life situation where they have to make decisions around finances. And, simulating those decisions like we were talking about before. Do we get a credit card to go consume, and it, you know, grades you negatively on that because that's not a good behavior, versus do you save and invest for the future? And so that's really what we're looking to do is we're saying, let's find those organizations that touch those young adults in a way that we can go out and say, let's partner and let's bring this gamification program to them and start to teach that early on. And then even let's expand that out. You talk about families. Let's expand that out beyond just the student and also get the members of the family involved. And so, once again, it's a point of pride for me that that the 100 is so influential in those key zip codes and area codes where we see such underachievement, and disinvestment. You're going in there and filling the gaps, you and other organizations, and we're going to make a real difference.
No, thank you for saying that. And I think one important thing that you mentioned is we call it the two generational approach, where we're teaching financial literacy to the young people, and if we're not teaching it to the adults in the families or the members that are in the home, then whatever we teach during the day could get lost when the student goes home because there's no continued discussion or thread about it. So by doing both a two generational approach, we're able to better enhance the family and the financial knowledge that is there, and also changing the culture of the family. I think one of being in the day to day, we see that changing our culture is probably one of the hardest things that we've had to experience. And again, the opportunity doing a two generational approach allows us to change the mind shift and the spirit and understanding financial awareness for the family. Thank you, Ray. We appreciate that very much. Just want to also say to our members that are out there, I see that Brother Miguel has put a donation button on here, so it's definitely we're definitely, if you are interested in donating to the 100, please follow the link that is there, and we love to have that on here. Al, if you could share with us more of on a personal tip. So, what was your aha moment when you were growing up, or when you first came to light about what your financial situation was, and what was, if you could go back and talk to your 18-year-old self, your 25-year-old self, and then your 30-year-old self, what would be like some things that you would go back and impart wisdom to yourself at those stages of your life?
Yeah. So we probably don't have long enough on this broadcast for all the lessons I needed to learn. But, um, as it pertains to finances, Louise, I came to Atlanta to study at Georgia State University. And so my collegiate experience was one that probably shaped me the most, coming from Dublin, Georgia, which is it's part in the middle part of the state. For those that don't know, it's in between Macon and Savannah. If you're going to get gas on the way to Savannah, stop in Dublin because that's probably going to be the only stop that you'll make. But when I was at Georgia State studying, and I started to study finance and financial concepts, it was really intriguing to me because once again these were not things that I learned at home, and so it was very new. And so when I was fortunate enough to apply for and have a career that started at Bank of America, my eyes were open once I started to just see the concepts of saving and investing and checking accounts and credit cards and just the whole apparatus and how it worked. And then, kind of shortly after I joined the bank, I also went into investment management within the private banking area, and there I saw an even higher level of achievement and financial achievement in people that were investing, large sums of money and being in charge of those investments and seeing legacy wealth, basically wealth that lasted from generation to generation. I always recall my instances of experiencing death and families, and many a times from a financial perspective, it was just as hard emotionally as it was financially, because it was a financial strain if the bread earner in the household passed away, or the person that was taking care of everyone financially passed away. In the situation where I started to work at Bank of America when I was in the private wealth unit, I started to see the benefits of generational wealth, and how estate planning and having wills and having trust, all of those things were beneficial to the family. The family was still grieving nonetheless when it comes to losing a family member, but from a financial perspective, it was a different experience than what I was used to. And so I said to myself, number one, I would like to put my family in those situations, but number two, I would love to share that with others so that they can really understand how to be successful. Because a lot of times it's just a gap in understanding or education, and it's not
Mhm.
that people don't have the willingness to do those things. It's just we just don't understand or don't have the knowledge. And so I've been fortunate through my bank career where I've had opportunities to be in front of individuals or groups of people to have that conversation about what that looks like and how to be successful on that side. And some of those very tactical things that we talked about earlier on in the conversation, how those, what might be seem like small things, add up to really big things over time. And once again, it paints the picture of how successful we can be if we just start early and then we continue to reinforce that through generations.
No, thank you for sharing those points and tips. And I know for me, and I can talk about personal experiences that for my dad, when he passed away in 2017, he actually right before, probably about 4 months before he passed, he actually went in and did his trust and got all of his paperwork in order. And I would say, that definitely helped my mom and our family navigate, everything afterwards. And I could tell the difference. He had planned stuff already. He had already paid for his death benefits and everything. And just seeing that his preparedness for that really made a difference for us as a family, and has motivated me to want to do that for my family here. But I've seen it on the other end where other families have struggled, and we see it all the time on social media. People want to set up a GoFundMe account or things of that nature to have assistance at that. And I know a lot of people don't want to just talk about the end, but as part of your financial planning, like you said, if you will have a legacy of continued growth for generation and generation, you have to be able to talk of what does that look like. So I know that's probably a whole nother topic for another day that we could discuss and bring that back, especially if the audience wants that. But that financial planning and financial understanding and literacy goes from there. And financial literacy, and I would say for me, I had to learn my financial literacy at a later age compared to some of my counterparts, from different cultures who had a financial literacy understanding at a younger age. And I've seen that repeatedly, unfortunately, for people like us, that our financial knowledge doesn't come till we're probably a little bit older, and we just have to play catch up there. Again, everyone, today's Financial Literacy Day. I encourage you guys to definitely tune in with us. If you have any questions, please let us know now. Miguel, if there's any questions or anyone has anything online, we have a few minutes. We'd love to answer those questions for them. But don't hesitate today. You have Brother Al Mcrae here of Bank of America. Definitely visit him and B of A to get your financial awareness going. I'm sure they have beautiful and wonderful people that assist you with that. Al, is there anything in any particular program you like to let people know that they can come and be a part of that they would need?
No, I think in the spirit of just financial awareness, I think it's a win for us all if people, number one, are just aware and curious about learning more, right? And so there are a number of resources. Obviously, with the web, you can go online and see those resources. We have a lot of those, obviously, at Bank of America. In addition, our financial centers are there to help people if they want to just walk in and start the conversation, and we have people that are there to help. But once again, the goal I think overall is first, let's raise the awareness. Let's just make sure that people say, I'm curious about my finances. I want to do better. And there's a number of resources out there to help. So Louise, I just want to thank you for having this platform, this opportunity to have the discussion. I don't think we can have it enough. And you and I mean, we can disclose, Louise and I are good friends. Like we've talked a lot, and a lot of times it sometimes gets back to financial literacy or things that's happening at the 100 Black Men of Atlanta. And the conversation is always about how can we improve? How can we get better? How can we advance? And so this is the very same continuation of that conversation. So once again, I don't think we can talk about it enough, and always happy to do it. So thank you for the platform and the opportunity to do that today.
Now, thank you for your gift of time today, my good brother, and thank you for the opportunity to share your story and that of Bank of America were helping with us. For those that don't know the history of Bank of America, it was actually called Banco de America. I'm a West Coast guy, so I'm from Oakland, California, so I have to have a shameless plug of how it actually started in San Francisco for Italian immigrants. So for me, seeing how this Bank of America has grown into the global giant it is today, from the humble beginnings they had back on the West Coast. We're talking about the 1800s, of course, but to see where it is today, to see the work that it continues to do, and to see the work that you're doing here, Brother Mcrae, with your team and the leadership here, again, I'm just in awe of what you do. And thank you for that opportunity. Thank you for Bank of America. Thank you for the opportunity to help our family, our children. And again, thank you for being a partner with the 100 Black Men of Atlanta. Again, peace and blessings, and enjoy your day. If anyone has any questions, drop it in the chat, or if not, just contact us. You go to the website for the 100 Black Men of Atlanta at www.100.atlanta.org. And we're here to help and assist you with any questions that you have. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thanks, Louise.